thrilled that Andrew could set this up, Kate. This is my friend Kevin. We appreciate the tour of the farm.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Kevin's been kind of my organic gardening guide on my farm and helping along. So I brought him just to maybe trade ideas and get some thoughts on how you do things and see what we can maybe apply to our place as well.
A little shop talk.
Exactly. So we're all yours. Where do we start the tour?
Let's go outside. I'm an expert on the outdoors.
Okay, and so this, as far as like tours and stuff, you do these regularly?
Yes, so we're in a very public space. This is called the Monon Trail, and there are thousands of people going up and down the trail when the weather is nice. We've had a lot of rain recently, so today it's a little less traffic, but people walking their dogs and riding their bikes. People inevitably stop and talk and ask me questions while I'm working, but then we also do field trips here. We get about 400 kids coming through every summer through summer camps to do,
you do camps here?
Field trips and tours. Yeah, and we can talk about that a little bit more. Then we do fundraisers here, and we take people on a tour of the farm and show them farm to table inside the city here.
That is kind of a unique concept. When you talk farm to table, I mean, you are farm to
right
table.
To the table.
Fresh. You'd hope, yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh. It's not going to spoil crossing the Monon Trail. So I imagine, because you've got a lot of outdoor people that are coming through here, there's not a lot of trash or...
No, people are really, they really respect the farm. We've never really had anyone jump the fence and take a bunch of tomatoes.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, we just present it and people get to know us, and we're part of the neighborhood.
Part of the community. I was going to say you're part of the community.
Exactly.
And the community, so like a community watch. People,
Exactly.
Do you have cameras just in case, though?
Oh, the restaurant does.
Okay.
For that, yeah.
Now you had kind of a, let's go through the tour. I want to, because I think there were
Sure.
some similar ideas that you guys had that might tie in.
I'll give you a tour.
So
we
what
look
was
both
this?
ways.
Did you build this for this purpose, or was this a building here?
This farm, and we call it our Microfarm because it is a pretty small space, but it's very productive. We get about 2,000 pounds of produce every season from this farm, and we grow as long as we can into the season, even though we don't have a greenhouse or a high tunnel or any kind of.
You get 2,000 pounds from this space?
Yeah, and for the most part, it goes right into the kitchen, and it gets processed that day and used. It's very salad forward at Public Greens. There's all kinds of stuff that
What do you mean salad forward?
There's so many. There's so many salads on the menu. So if you're a salad person, you should visit Public Greens. Yeah.
So what's the footprint of this microfarm?
It's a little under 2,000 square feet. Each year I try to squeeze in another row, and we're very focused on the soil health here.
That's a big thing that you...
It's all about the soil.
It's all about the soil. Yeah, so we pay a lot of attention to that and make sure that we're using cover crops. We rotate our crops every season. All the things that you would do for integrated pest management and just making sure that the soil is never depleted. And
these are all things that he's been trying to teach me for 4 years. What do you mean insect pest management? What do you do for that?
Yeah, so we don't use any pesticides or any kind of chemicals, fertilizers, fungicides, herbicides here. So we try to do everything as naturally as possible. We use a method called companion planting. Yeah.
Yep, companion planting. You can plant other plants that actually will deter insects.
Yeah.
Really?
You can plant them as like a trap.
Yep.
So that they will go and attack one particular plant where you want them to stay, but not get into your other.
Yeah.
What would be a plant that is that?
Trap crop would be, for example, in the cucumber bed, we often plant amaranth next to it, and they will go to the amaranth and not to the cucumbers.
It's actually called a trap crop?
Yeah.
That's
It's a
fascinating.
decoy.
Now, after 5 years, now you're letting me know about this?
I only have an hour.
And you'll see throughout the farm, you'll see marigolds planted in between the vegetables. Marigolds have pest repellent properties in their root systems.
Chrysanthemums are natural.
So that one repels plants. The other one that's a trap attracts plant.
Pests, yeah.
Repels pests. The other one attracts pests. So you're keeping them away from what you don't want them to, or you're keeping them away from the entire.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one way we do
unreal.
it. And also, just even though it's a small space, we rotate the crops around, so it confuses the pests that we may have had the year before if we move that plant to a different part of the farm.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this.
Pests getting confused?
Yes. Well, just not so much confusion, but the idea that like some beetles or something may have been there. They may thrive. They drop down. They're getting into the soil, and that's what they're looking for. The next year, the plant's not there. It's been moved. It's gone somewhere else.
Gotcha. I do remember that
Rotation,
conversation. I was
like
paying attention.
nightshades and all that stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Huh. So you rotate. I mean, does it have to be like the other side, or how far do you move things year to year?
It's kind of do whatever you can. So the space is very small, so we just do what we can. We have different sections of the farm, and some sections are perennial, meaning I don't have to plant it every year. And in those spaces, we obviously don't move the plants. But in our other spaces, like for instance, right here, you can see a row cover over all of our greens. Cabbage moths love to come in and eat our greens, so we cover them. But last year they were all the way over at the other end of the farm.
You cover them all the time, so the sun goes through the plastic,
Yep.
and they get their water from the.
Kind of like a fabric. It's breathable.
Gotcha.
It's called Agribon is the brand. It's a row cover. You can get different weights. So some are thicker. They keep your plants warm when it gets cold. Or this one is pretty thin, so the sun still gets through, moisture gets through, but the bugs don't get through.
How'd you learn about all this stuff?
I actually used to work in advertising, and I decided that I wanted to work for an organic farm, and I quit that life and started apprenticing. And you learn on the job.
2,000 pounds, and this is, what did you say the footprint was?
About 2,000 square feet,
Okay,
a little under.
What do I have, roughly?
You have not even close to that. Last time, I don't know. Last time, I haven't seen your garden this
30
year.
by 40-ish?
Yeah.
So I got
was gonna
120?
say you're about 100 square feet or so.
So I should get 100 pounds of,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
But she's also doing extra things like with these row covers that extends her, a whole season. And like I say, she was saying she was harvesting up into December here, because of the
Should I
warmer-
do that?
You could, certainly you could. Yeah, you can buy that. Buy that mesh and then all the. Actually, during election season, you can get the little the things that the little signs go in.
Stands, go
Oh,
take
yeah.
those.
There you go.
You can actually plant those. You can get those for free and use that as a cover for easily. Yeah.
You can also make your own trellis and save a little bit of space.
Oh, I
Use your
see.
space efficiently.
So what's going up in your, can we go down that way?
Yeah, let's walk down
What
there.
goes up on the trellis?
So, because we get so many kids coming through on field trips, I wanted to create something that was fun but was also functional. So we took cattle panels and kind of looped them over and secured them with T-posts and zip ties, and that's all you need. And now we're growing beans, some flowers, cucumbers, and other things that like to climb. So they're not taking up much space. They're taking up way less space than they normally would if they sprawled across the bed. But they'll go up and over, and some winter squash too, and zucchini.
So you could do this with squash and zucchini. Because my problem with them kind of expanding is they go row to row, and then when I try and till through the rows, it grabs the vine and pulls the whole. So I've lost.
Yeah,
I lost all my watermelons
They
last
like
year.
to climb. Yeah, watermelon's another one. And the cool thing, once the cucumbers start to come up and over, gravity helps you make them straight, so they hang down straight like little Christmas ornaments. And when they grow on the ground, they get all wavy and crooked. So this is a good way to make your cucumbers straight.
Does that help at all with insects too, or not? Is that?
It's not necessarily, but nasturtium has some. I think it works as a trap crop also. So maybe it's getting some of those bugs to come to it instead of other things.
The flowers are edible.
Yeah. Have you had one?
I think you fed me one of those. one time.
You can
Yeah.
eat that. Pretty up a salad with that.
I'm fascinated by this trap crop thing. This is a
Yeah.
new discovery for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have in now? You say this is going to be 6-story building here.
I think so.
Is that going
yeah.
to impact your son and your?
I think it might, but when you're an urban farm, that's one of the things you have to deal with. So we've already moved some of our crops down. Some of our herbs were near that tree down there, and they were already partially shaded, but now that they're going to be very much shaded, we just moved them down to another section of the farm.
What do you think of it?
This is fabulous. Like I say, this is very
This is
very
pretty
dense. Yeah.
So how often do you have to come out here and weed? Because that's a big problem I have.
Well, lately it's been raining so much that the weeds are very happy. We spend a good hour or so each week, kind of battling weeds. But we try to plant pretty intensively to keep them shaded out. And then we try to use this alfalfa straw here under some of our crops. Tomatoes don't like to get water splashed on them, or mud splashed on them, so we use some of the straw underneath to sort of mitigate that, but it also helps keep the weeds down because we don't want to spend all our time waiting.
So the yarn is your tomato basket thing?
So we do what's called the Florida weave and kind of go in between each plant and then back around the other way. It sort of pulls them straight up, like corsets them sort of, to get them to stand straight up. We do it maybe once a week to keep them from flopping around, because otherwise they'll get wet and start to rot or possibly break. All this rain makes them really heavy and they break.
Why is it? Is
Yeah,
that?
I saw where you've got one bandaged up there.
Yeah, I
with
bandaged it up and
yeah.
it seems to be
they're
okay.
doing just fine, yeah. As long as
Yeah.
it keeps flowing. See, and these T-posts are going to be great for you. You've already got a T-post driver. You can
Yeah.
get back to.
Oh yeah, you have to get one of those.
I have one of those,
Yeah.
and I have T-posts,
Essential.
and now I know what to do with them too.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a little bit difficult to bend, though, isn't it?
You know, this is pretty floppy. It sort of just did it on its own.
It's not, like I said, I've picked these up and just had them they'll just bend them and just put it in the back of the pickup truck.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been very
Oh.
easily. They've been very easily. Yeah.
I could see that.
So, yeah.
I could see that. So you've got alfalfa straw. I've never heard of that. I've heard of alfalfa hay.
What's kind of cool about it is as it breaks down, it releases nitrogen into the soil, which is great for the tomatoes.
Do you have chickens?
We don't.
Could you have chickens out here? Would you have
know,
chickens out here?
I think I would love to have chickens out here. I'm not sure we have space for them right now, though.
Would chickens be a benefit to this? or-
They would be helpful, like for composting. The nitrogen from the manure would go into their composting bin, and that'll help to break things down a little faster, maybe. You may have a little more difficulty trying to manage chickens here at night. Now you've got something else to worry about.
Yeah, I would lose sleep, I think, over those
coming
chickens.
By, yeah, people coming by and messing around with the chickens might be a greater idea of difficulty than messing around with the tomatoes. But their manure would certainly be beneficial as far as the compost. I wouldn't necessarily put it straight on the soil here, but in the compost bin would work well.
So do you compost everything from the
Yeah,
restaurant?
so everything, scraps or tops from veggies that we don't need to use, they go in our compost. So all the farm waste goes into our compost. And then the
You keep
restaurant-
pointing. You point somewhere. Where's your compost?
It's way down
Down
the
there.
other. You
I
can't
saw
see it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I saw the bins and I was walked out there. So yeah, we'll walk by there.
It's on the other side of the peach tree. So the restaurant, actually, all of our restaurants in the restaurant group that's owned by Martha Hoover are getting their compost picked up and taken somewhere else because they generate so much we couldn't accommodate in our compost bin. But everything that we have out here as far as garden scraps goes into our compost bin.
Gotcha. And why Florida? You called it a Florida weave.
Yeah.
Why?
I've heard it called Florida weave, Tennessee weave, different states sort of stake their claim on this, but this is the simplest. And because this farm is so public, I think it's important to show really low tech, easy ways to do gardening at home. So this is my favorite.
You should call it the Hoosier weave.
The Hoosier weave.
The Hoosier weave.
I like that.
Put our little spin on it.
This is what we do here. We use the Hoosier weave.
Yeah,
I
there you
kind
go.
of like that better than the basket stuff.
Yeah, you can do this with pretty minimal tools. Just pound those posts in and then get some twine. You can use string. You can use whatever works.
So
for you.
how do you pick your crops that you're planting? Is it all is that zucchini or what is? I mean,
This down here,
rhubarb.
it's not. It's different. Next to it's rhubarb. This is actually horseradish.
Really?
Yeah. So we would harvest the roots, obviously, but you can eat the greens. It tastes slightly like horseradish. So the way that we pick what we're going to grow, I plan with Chef Tyler what he'll need for his seasonal menus, and they change once a month. Also, some of our produce goes to the Potashu Foundation meals, and we serve those after school during the school year.
What
and
is
school
that?
breaks.
Okay,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
what
so
is the
that's-
potashu?
so what is Patachu? Am I pronouncing it right?
Well, it's Potashu.
Potashu.
French. Potashu Foundation is our nonprofit associated with the restaurant group, and we serve after-school meals and meals during school breaks and during summer breaks to kids who are in food insecure areas. So we work with 8 different schools in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is ranked worst in the country for access to fresh food.
Really?
We have a lot of food deserts, which are areas where there's no easy access to a grocery store. There may be a convenience store or some other place where there's a lot of processed food available, but not necessarily fresh produce,
Well,
fruits
that's
and
interesting.
veggies. Yeah, so we try to go to those schools and serve those meals. We have a dedicated chef. Her name is Chef Twinkle, and she makes all of these meals. We have volunteers come pick them up and take them to the schools and serve them. And then a lot of those same kids get to come here to the Microfarm. A lot of them have never visited any farm before, let alone an urban farm in the middle of the city that they live in.
That is incredible. So how many meals do you do a day, a week? Or?
Right now we're at about 2,000 meals a week. So
Are
it takes
you
a lot of
kidding me?
volunteer power to get those meals out, yeah.
Whose idea was this?
Oh, Martha Hoover. She owns all of the restaurants in our restaurant group. Cafe Pas de Choux, Napoli's, Public Greens.
Where are all of them cooked at? What at this kitchen here,
Yeah,
or
so
is there
actually
a separate kitchen?
we're in the process of opening up our own headquarters, but right now we share space with the restaurant.
Okay.
So it's great to have that relationship.
So the foundation's going to have its own kitchen at some point.
We get to open it up at the end of the summer, so not too far out.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So what does pas de choux translate to?
It actually means cream puff.
Okay.
It's a long story.
Okay. Okay. Can I go see the compost pile
Yeah,
too,
let's go
down
look
there?
at it.
We've just still got some
Do you
things.
want to look at the end?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's
Well, I
the
thought I
rhubarb.
saw rhubarb leaves. So
Yeah, right here.
now, is rhubarb poisonous?
So the leaves you don't want to eat, but you eat the stems, and typically you harvest those in the spring. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend eating the leaves. They can be toxic if you have too much.
That's my favorite pie, strawberry rhubarb.
Oh,
What is
great.
the-
Strawberries right there.
Yeah, we've got
Oh,
strawberries
It's
here.
all right here.
and
Now
at
we
the
just need a
end-
crust plant.
Do you know what this is?
This is, you know, don't you? Hold on.
It's gone well past its prime.
Yeah,
No. Oh, it's,
early spring crop. One of the first that comes
I don't
up.
know.
It's asparagus.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So this is, you want to, asparagus is a perennial. It comes back on its own every year, and each year it's going to get more and more robust.
Oh, I see it down
so you
the
see,
bottom,
you might be
yeah.
able to see some of the spears still coming up, and then it goes to seed. As you should let some of it go to seed, so it continues to produce.
So did you let that go for that purpose?
So we got about 2 or 3 weeks of harvesting from it, and then we just let it go.
So when you sit down with the chef to figure out what you're going to plant and how you're going to plant it, are you guys talking for 12 months? So you know when and...
Yeah, I mean, Chef Tyler is very familiar with what's in season when, which is so important, and this menu changes every month, so he's got to be pretty familiar with that. And he works with about 10 to 15 different farmers who are both in the city like we are, but he's got other farms that have, you know, multiple high tunnels where they're growing food basically all year round, and they might be 45 minutes away, so still very close. But we're definitely here harvesting 2 or 3 times a week, and if Chef Tyler runs out of kale on a Thursday, I can come out here and harvest kale and bring it inside.
Any thoughts on a hoop house or something like that? Or
I would love one, but again, I don't know where I'd put it.
Yeah, watch the puddle. Watch the puddle. So, what's happened to those leaves there? Is that just natural?
Oh
Is that
yeah,
insects?
they're just, you know, a lot of rain. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of rain.
So 2,000 meals a week.
Yep.
You can't get all of your produce and food from here.
No, we try to work with as many local farmers as we can.
So who pays for that?
Or
Or how do you pay for it?
For the meals for the foundation,
Yeah.
you know, we get a lot of individual donations. We're a nonprofit, so we hold fundraisers. We've got actually an event here on the first Friday of every month in the summer called First Friday on the Farm. I get to give tours like this one, and we have a sit-down meal. Chef Tyler prepares it, and it's a fundraiser for the Pas de Choux Foundation.
How do you like this compared to the advertising world?
Oh God, I love it. I wish I could do it all year round, but we live in Indiana.
Now you manage all of the farms under.
Yes, I manage both of our micro farms.
How far is the other one?
It's It's about a 10-minute drive. It's not too far.
So you go to both of them every day?
The other one's a lot smaller, so I go 2 or 3 times a week to the other one, but I'm here in the summer every day.
You used to manage an organic farm.
Oh yeah, did you see the honeybees?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we're very pollinator friendly here.
Uh-huh.
We've got honeybees. We also have a mason bee home at the other end of the farm. It was kind of blocked by some of the plants.
What's a mason bee?
So mason bees are native bees. They don't live in a colony like honeybees. And honeybees are actually not native to the United States. They came over when America was settled. They came over and sort of naturalized. But we have so many native pollinators here. I think we have about 2,000 species of bees.
Yeah, the mason bee is the unsung hero,
Yes.
actually, of the pollination world.
All right.
Everybody tries to. They focus so much on the honeybee,
'Cause we
but
love
actually
honey.
it's the little lone
Yeah.
singular
Poor
little
guy.
fellas that live in little reeds and little hollow things.
Yeah, they
They're
live
the-
in holes.
yeah,
They're
the
better
workhorses
pollinators.
of the industry.
How
Yeah.
do you, were they here, or how do you get them to stay in this? Like, I know here, you give them a
Yeah.
hive and...
So that's kind of why we have an industry with honeybees, right? Is because they live in these colonies and they stay put. Their queen is there, their babies are there. With mason bees, they're solitary and you can set up a home for them, kind of like a birdhouse, and they may or may not come to it. But mason bees are great to attract, and you attract them by having flowers, and you attract them by providing holes about the size that they like. And they're actually better pollinators than honeybees. I think like 100 times better because of the way they pollinate. They actually, you've seen honeybees kind of go very efficiently from flower to flower, but mason bees will sort of belly flop. They're very enthusiastic pollinators. And then the pollen goes everywhere and they pollinate more flowers that way.
Did you have an interest in this prior to getting into this, or is this all self-taught?
No, I was obsessed with it for years and then I took the plunge. But there's so much information available, so I try to teach myself as much as I can on these connected topics.
So do you guys harvest the honey for in here too?
We actually don't. I have a couple beehives that I manage here and at another location in Indianapolis, and we just let them eat their honey and try to help them thrive because the die-off rate, unfortunately, for honeybees is pretty high. We actually had a record year for, I think it's 37% of all honeybee colonies died over the winter. So we try to let them keep their food and disturb them as little as possible to help them
You
live.
said you managed 2 of them. There's just one.
There's
Where's the other
one
one
here, and then I have another one that lives on top of Eskenazi Hospital. There's a farm there that a friend of mine manages.
There's a
it's
farm
called
on
the-
top of the hospital?
Yeah, it's called
Oh
the
my-
Sky Farm. So the Sky Farmer, her name's Rachel. She and I used to work together, and I managed their hive there too.
And what is that produce used for?
For the hospital's restaurant.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so it all gets
we
used.
have a number of there's something called Brooklyn Grange in New York City
Yes.
that we ship up product to them, just right up into the city.
So
And they farm on rooftops just like this. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Kevin used to run a big organic farm out in Virginia, and now is the owner of New Country Organics, organic feed. You guys do fertilizers too?
Fertilizers too. Yeah.
Do you do
yeah.
seeds too as well?
We sell Southern Seed Exchange, seeds. I hope I got that right, Lord. I think I might have screwed that up. Southern Exposure.
That's where
Southern
that
Exposures,
voiceover
exactly.
comes
Southern
in.
Exposures seeds. They're down near us, down in Louisa, in that area.
Louisa, it's Virginia.
Louisiana County, Louisa
Yeah.
County, yeah.
What is this here?
That's a peach tree.
That is what a peach tree looks like. I have 2 peach trees in my orchard, and mine do not look like this.
Yeah, it really likes where it is.
Where did you get this? I got mine at I'm not going to mention the name of the store because mine.
A big box
Yeah,
store.
mine looked terrible.
This came from another local farmer, and it was probably this big when we planted it about 5 years ago. And we actually meant to move it somewhere else, but it looked so happy, so we didn't.
When does it start
It'll be
producing?
a little bit longer before those soften up, maybe end of July, early August. They're very good. They're a little on the small side, but they're really yummy, and the restaurant uses them usually they make a sangria, a house-made sangria, and use the peaches in that.
So you planted it 5 years ago. When did it start producing peaches?
The second year, it just got really happy.
I'm in my 2nd year.
I'm sorry.
I may have peaches. No, I'm.
Oh, you might. Do you
I don't have
little
no.
babies?
I have no babies.
I was gonna say, then you're not gonna get them this year.
Nothing.
Did you have blooms?
No.
Once you have blooms, then you'll have peaches.
Did you think about a pear tree at all?
I've thought about a pear tree.
And
It just hasn't happened yet. But we actually we did a small micro orchard along the back of the farm because we're trying to use our space efficiently. And there are raspberries and currants and some things that are on the smaller side, just going all the way down the back of the farm.
So you're going to try to exfoliate? Is that the word for the fruit trees? Try to get them on a trellis?
I'm hoping that they won't need any kind of support, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, because I know I've seen I've been to Italy, and they do a lot of their orchards are that way because everything is such a small space, and so they try to maximize it, and it's all of it is just pruned that way to stay. And they trellis them up
Heavy
like
pruning,
that. Yeah,
for
heavy
sure.
pruning.
Yeah.
But they still get a lot. They still get a lot off of it. They still get a lot off of it that way.
could you trellis them with the livestock panels or the cattle panels?
Yeah, you could do that.
So, yeah.
And there's no concern that some biker's going to come by here and help themselves to some peaches?
No, if they're so hungry that they need to, I'm okay with it.
But it may not even be malicious. It may just be like you're driving by and you see a peach and
Right. I think people are starting to understand what we're all about. They've heard of us, so they know what we're doing. And we have some signs out, too, that they can stop and read to learn more. Yeah.
What about predators like rabbits and deer and stuff?
We definitely don't have any deer in this area. We don't have a rabbit issue. People walk their dogs up and down this trail all day, so I think that helps repel the rabbits. We've also got pretty big, back here, you can't really see it from here, but there's some big trees and water. Birds of prey live right over here. You can see them overhead pretty often, so we're kind of closed off. We've got parking lots over here and over here, so they don't really come over here. I've got squirrels that sometimes dig up my baby plants. I think that they think that they're baby trees growing from the nuts they buried. But that's about it. And that only happens for a couple weeks.
How did you build this for this, or was it an existing building?
This was an existing building.
So how'd you decide on this building and this, for this concept to be here?
I think that we wanted to create this concept here along a really public trail, so we could be a billboard for sustainable agriculture and farm to table and sustainability. We follow, we're a level 4 green certified restaurant, and so there are a lot of things that we're still striving to get higher levels. So we've got rain barrels and all kinds of
I saw
things.
the rain barrels. Explain level 4 and explain, you say you want to go higher up. What is the...
Yeah. So if I know they have a website that sort of explains all of the different levels, and our director of sustainability, Rachel, would be a better person to ask about this, but there's a list of things that you can do as a restaurant to be responsible for the environment. And this is actually, having a garden is actually really low on the list. There are a lot of other things that the restaurant does that make a bigger impact environmentally than this, like mitigating how much water we use, and our lights, using LED lights and time sensor lights, using rain barrels, trying to save water. So all of those things add up, and you can get certified. If we decide one day to put solar panels on the restaurant, then we would
Kick you up a notch.
Yeah.
Take you up a notch.
Yeah.
You can feel this the different, like a different climate zone just under this tree.
Oh my gosh.
Of what you
yes.
can do here. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
So explain that to me.
You can create different microclimates in your garden by
Because
having.
we're all in the same zone here, right?
We're all in the same zone here, but obviously under this tree in the shade, you're probably a little zone different. So you could probably go with something that might be a little more shade tolerant here, and plant that may not do well out in the full sun. So and you can do that around your house. You plant something closer to your house. That's going to be a warmer climate because the radiation of the heat off of your house. You can create a whole nother climate zone just right there. So that particularly works well with flowers. Something that you see a flower might say a zone 8, and you think, well, obviously I'm a zone 6 here. I don't know what you are here. You might be a zone 7.
Or 6A.
You're 6A, and then you could be, well, gosh, if I keep it up close to the house and mulch it heavily, I can plant a zone 8 because the house is going to keep it warm. So.
That makes sense. Okay. So what is this space going to be used for here?
We're still kind of trying to decide because this construction is relatively new, but I'm kind of planning for that now. I was thinking of doing several different types of composting here. We've got our compost bin, which you can actually see some remnants of our last field trip that we've got in here. We make artwork out of compostable materials, and then we sort of in a mandala pattern, and then we talk about what can be composted, what can be recycled, what ultimately goes in the landfill. This is all to like 4th and 5th graders, and make art, and then we take it all and compost it.
So how long does a tour take, and how many kids come on the tour?
So when we do a field trip, we break it up into different stations, and it lasts maybe 2 or 3 hours total. So we're taking them through the farm. They're doing a cooking activity with some ingredients from the farm, and that's a skill they can take home.
Like what cooking activity?
So last time we made bruschetta, so just little pieces of toasted bread. We took oregano and basil from the farm and took a mortar and pestle and just ground it up with olive oil and salt, kind of made a pesto out of it, and then added tomatoes, and then the kids devoured them.
That is incredible.
So they're learning really simple recipes that they can make at home and put their own spin on it with whatever ingredients that they happen to have.
How many of these do you do? I can't imagine, if I'm a teacher, how 2 hours coming out here and teaching these things wouldn't be.
We get, like I said, we get around 400 kids, and I think we do about 10 to 12 total field trips throughout the summer, and we are trying to add more every summer because we realize it's such a valuable experience for the kids that we serve.
How long have you guys been here?
This is the 5th year, I think.
And is this the first location and the other two?
Yeah, this is the original.
What's this?
I actually don't know. I think the Parks Department put that there to mark this tree.
Yeah.
So technically, the Monon Trail is a park.
Oh,
Domain is under the Parks Department. This is a walnut tree, which is also a reason why we wanted to move some of the plants underneath. So walnut trees release chemical from their roots.
Well, they're not actually. It's hard to grow stuff under a walnut tree. It's hard to grow stuff under a walnut tree.
Some things don't mind. There's a chemical in the root system that can slowly poison some plants, but other plants thrive under a walnut tree. So we'll keep that in mind.
That's why I started looking up here, and I started thinking, wow,
Yeah.
wait a minute, this is a walnut
It's a
tree.
walnut.
Yeah, so that's.
So that's why there's no.
Yeah, we just moved all of the perennial herbs out from underneath here in this space, and we're in the planning stage of figuring out what to do with it.
This
Nice
is
under here.
fascinating. It's really good breeze. So that, what if we missed anything that you take the kids through?
No, I think we do a little cooking activity and teach them about how things are grown. We talk about the pollinators. We talk about the soil and the earthworms and how everything is alive, and try to teach them some skills that they can take home to maybe start their own gardens, or at least know how to go out into a garden and pick some produce or herbs and make something out of it.
Yeah, just gaining the interest in just preparing food is so important. Yeah.
And they get to taste test a lot. And at a certain point, once they've tasted a few things, they'll just walk around and say, "Can I taste this? Can I taste this?" So the curiosity and excitement about food also grows here during our field trips.
And when you're taking them through this, because I could see as a kid, you're getting excited about, you're not in the classroom and you're getting to taste things and you're getting to touch things. How much does the organic, sustainable conversation come into that versus Microfarm? And
yeah, I think we talk a little bit about it, but for the most part, we focus on how is food exciting to you, and how does tasting new things feel to you. And we never want to force kids to try new things, but in this environment, when everyone's trying something new, I mean, they'll try horseradish leaves, and they'll try edible flowers and raw beets, and to do that in any other setting may not work, but it works here.
Yeah, they got to get them to try hot peppers.
No,
try to slip a hot pepper in.
take that,
They
kid.
always ask
Kate, that's
me.
mean. Do you have hot peppers?
We don't
right
grow
now?
Isn't this a
hot
pretty
peppers
orange
here.
little pepper? Isn't this a pretty little orange little pepper?
Do you put these here, or does the park put these here?
Those are here already for bicycles, yeah.
Okay, because that cuts into some of your farm space, but I thought That's also a pretty cool way to get people to stop and
Yeah,
and hang
I
out.
think so too. I love that it's all sort of integrated together.
Okay. Have we missed anything?
I don't think so.
That's an awesome tour.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Any
You're doing
questions
great
you've
work
got?
here.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Any
Great
questions you've got? I imagine this all made so much sense to you. It
Well,
made sense to me because
Yeah.
you do a
She
nice
does a
job
great
of breaking
job.
it down.
Because she's used to talking to third graders.
Right.
And so that really.
So it was a little bit over my
Well,
head, but I was able to catch
I'm just
up.
saying, no, but he's done this enough times. She knows how to really explain it so that it's very easy to understand.
As you look at it with all your experience, anything you see out here that you would say, I'd do it different or I'd do it this way?
No, she's doing a wonderful job.
That's the right
job,
answer.
yeah.
That's a good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Of course,
I appreciate
yeah.
that. Thanks for joining us too.
No problem. No, thanks
Gonna
for
head
inviting me
inside?
out here. This is nice. And the sun is out.
Yeah.
Hey, the sun's out.
sun
we
is
can,
out.
We can thank Andrew. Andrew's the one that set it up. We'll go visit his new shop here in just a minute.